Listeners, welcome back to the LIP Snakes Alive number 55. And first up on your bingo card, he is, and I quote, more inventive than Tesla. He is less corrupt than Sturgeon. And more famous than all the rest put together, it is Nicola Volpe.
Wow, what an honor to have this intro. More inventive than, let's break it down, Tesla Motor Company or Nikola Tesla?
Nick, you can see where I'm going with this,
Okay.
right? I was looking for famous Nicolas that you were being measured up against. The first, of course, was
I
Nikola
didn't
Tesla.
even make that connection. I was about to get to Nicola Sturgeon, the former First Minister of Scotland,
Indeed.
who had some sort of corruption scandal. Yes, indeed.
Do we dare say disgraced former first minister? I don't know. She has had her fair share of fraud accusations, but still a great leader.
Yes, you could say that, almost independent. At one point, her boss was Alex Salmond, close to salmon, and she was sturgeon. So, they love their fish up there.
They sure bloody do. Fried and otherwise.
Deep fried even. And what was the last one?
Yeah. I said more famous than all the rest put together. And the reason for that is I asked my good pal Chat GPT for a list of famous Nicolas. And it gives you the list, but the list thins out very, very fast from there. I think there was a Scottish-Italian violinist who was next up in the queue. And I just was like, nobody's going to know who this is anyway. So I decided to simply pull the parachute cord after two and see where we land.
There you go. Well, you could, because then you have the direct translation. So if you stretch it out, you could have the Nicolais, you could have the Nicolases, right? But
yeah, I wanted to keep it pure though, because then, I mean, we could have gone for jolly old Saint Nick while we were at it.
Right.
We could have gone any which way, but no, I wanted to keep it purely on the Nicolas / Nicolas.
I appreciate that. You mentioned our friend Chat GPT, and I have a bit of an itch I wanna take out about our friend Chat GPT. What is the point of me asking our friend Chat any question if then anyways I need to go fact check it and it's wrong and I end up doing all my research regardless?
Well, sir, the first thing is, if you're asking it questions like that, I would argue you're asking the wrong questions of ChatGPT, or you're using it for the wrong things. Put it that way. Because I would argue that ChatGPT is a pretty terrible source of facts, right? And you can actually just still get great use out of it, despite that. I feel, because it's a brilliant source of ideas.
Brainstorm, yeah,
and that, yeah, and just ideas in general, and rough intros to ideas and things like that. And just like soundboarding, coaching, like so many things you can use it for now, where the output doesn't rely on solid information that's verifiable or even mathematically true, especially if you're using GPT 3.5, the older version, which is pretty woeful with anything to do with numbers. Literally worse than a 6-year-old in some cases. But for any ideation or brainstorming, it's phenomenal. I love it.
How difficult can it be to incorporate into this algorithm like a top 10 highest grossing musicians of all time and have the same answer correct every time? How difficult can that actually be? Because if I Google search it, I get it right away.
You'll get it. I think it's difficult in the sense that by default, ChatGPT doesn't see the internet, right? Or it has no capability to look up anything live. It is simply trained on millions and millions and millions of lines of text, right? And it then simply predicts what it thinks is the most likely next word in the series, and it will come up with a different answer every time for things like that. However, if you use GPT-4 or even 4.0 now,
I'm 4.1, believe it or not.
Oh, nice. Well, then it should be capable. If I ask GPT 4 or 4.0 to look up the top 10 highest grossing whatever, it will just launch a Bing search and do it for you in the background, and then it'll come back with a number, and it'll just link you the search result and go, I found it here, so you go check. So that's pretty good. But then it's just using Bing, so skip ChatGPT and just go straight to Bing in that case.
Right.
But yeah. It just really depends what you want to use it for. I think that's the
good old Bing. And that's because Bing is Microsoft, or is it because Bing has actually secretly been better than Google search this whole time?
It's a bit of both, actually. I think Bing is, for certain things, apparently it is better. Google search these days, I think, is getting pretty bad, I would have to argue. But then again, it's also because Microsoft has a massive stake in
Right.
OpenAI, and I think that's only going to get massiver as time goes on. So yeah.
Massive. Well, listeners, if ChatGPT is not giving you satisfactory answers to your massive postulations, you can write us in lostinpostulation@gmail.com. We'll take that. You can Instagram us at lostinpostulation. You can find Neil on X, on what has become basically his private account, at impostulation.
If you do find me on X, let me know, because I'm certainly not on it as far as I know. So that would be a catfish. That would be not what I'm looking for. But I suspect I'm off the hook. I think
You
I'm
can
okay.
ask ChatGPT for your login details. Sure, she'll figure
Will
something
do.
out.
She'll throw something at me.
And she or he, actually, on ChatGPT.
See, this is a great topic, because you might have seen the recent controversy of them using a voice that was eerily similar to Scarlett
Yes, I
Johansson.
did.
Don't know if you saw that.
I heard
Now,
it.
I am a massive fan. Yeah, I was a huge fan of it, actually. I was using the voice chat in ChatGPT to practice my Danish,
Oh,
funny
wow.
enough, because it is able to speak any language at you, basically, that you want. And it will, I told it, hey, I'm going to speak Danish at you now. Can you talk back to me in Danish, but also correct me if I make any mistakes? And then we had a lovely
You
little
were the
chat. And that
Joaquin
was,
Phoenix in the movie Her.
I was the
Yeah.
Joaquin to the Scarlett. However, now, very disappointingly, they've deactivated the Scarlett Johansson voice, or the one that was very close to it. And now I don't like any of the other voices. It's just guys, or it's like ladies who I don't have the same rapport with,
As with Scarlett.
Uh, yeah, we were just getting on so well. So I'm a bit disappointed in that, to be honest. I don't know if I like talking to ChatGPT
No.
anymore.
Scarlett, great voice. She also loves to fight the big corporations and kind of win. She did it against Disney, I think, 2 summers ago, when they put her
Yeah.
Black Widow movie out on streaming when they released it in theaters, which is where her bonus happened to be determined from. So I'm with Scarlett. I mean, if I have to bet on somebody to win a legal battle, I'm with her.
Yeah, I can feel the tide is kind of turning on OpenAI and ChatGPT at the moment. Sam Altman is entering his villain era, as the articles are saying. So I feel like,
They all
yeah,
do.
people are going to get more and more. Yeah, they always. It's just a matter of time. Elon showed it the perfect a 10 in gymnastics terms of how to do it, but Sam will get there soon, I'm sure.
Well, and let's not forget Zuck par excellence, but
Zuck is actually on a bit of a revival, the Zuck Naissance. I don't know if you've seen that, but
silent
he
one.
is rocking a
Yeah.
beard. He's rocking a beard and a decent haircut these days, and he actually looks like a normal human being, which is a huge,
Wow.
huge step up. Let's not forget for
That's
Mark.
very
So,
passive
like
aggressive towards Zuck.
no, I think, come on, that's hardly new news. Like we've seen him in interviews where it's literally like a lizard man is talking. Like this is not controversial, I feel.
Or during his Senate
Uh,
hearings.
yeah, exactly. This like character. I mean, you kind of can't look away. It's almost like rubbernecking car crash stuff, but he is just like, and all the stuff he did with the metaverse and like all those launch
Yeah.
videos where it was like, wow, that is really cool. I am super excited to show you more. It's like, bro, just talk to me normally. Like, what is this? I hate it.
Senator, we sell ads.
We
We
sell
sell
ads.
ads, Senator. We don't, listeners, but you can support us by subscribing to the podcast, rating, and reviewing it. I am on a segue roll today. I'm not even going to be humble about it, Neil.
It's going pretty well, I must say. You're getting better at it. It only took a year and a bit, but now we are nailing the segues.
We are
I have to say.
nailing the segues a little bit like some people nailed the portal between Dublin and New York City recently. Nailed a coffin on it temporarily before bringing it back.
They certainly did. Let's get into it. That's an interesting one for so many different reasons, I think. First of all, I think just as an idea, I'd like to hear your thoughts on, do you like this as a concept? This novelty setting up a portal between two cities?
So, filling in the listeners that don't know, basically, they put one screen with a camera in a central location in Dublin, another one in a central location, I believe, in Manhattan, and you could see each other. So it was kind of like being in the same place, a bit of, virtual reality, but very realistic virtual reality, if you will. And in principle, I think it's a nice idea. I don't know what the goal or what I'm supposed to get from it is, but if I'm walking around and I have one here in Copenhagen linking me to Nairobi or something, maybe I won't go out of my way to go there, but when I pass it, I'll stop for a second and be like, what's up in Nairobi? And I think that was a bit the idea, and then it got taken in a different direction.
Well, did it get taken, or did it simply travel in its inevitable
Yeah.
direction? I feel like, first of all, I think it's a lovely, lovely idea. It's just an evolution of what we used to call twinned cities. I think,
Yeah.
like when you would drive into any town anywhere these days. I guess in Ireland, I've seen the most of it where it says now entering New Ross, twinned with Nantucket,
Yeah.
or like just some like
I'm a
random
big
random thing.
fan of the
And
concept.
yeah, love the
Yeah.
concept, and it feels very exotic sometimes. If like a city or a town in Ireland is twinned with like some sunny place somewhere else,
Right.
they're like, oh, we're twinned with Valencia or something. It's like kind of cool. So I love that idea. I love anything that furthers diplomatic relations at a regional or local level, like not at a national
Mm.
level, but things that actually encourages regional interaction. I think is really cool. And then this is just like an extension of that, and a really cool one that, let's not forget, say 50 years ago, would have blown the minds of every person that walked past
Mm.
it, and literally wouldn't have believed it, would have called it black magic and probably burned it instantly. It is like a marvel, let's not
Yeah.
forget. And the fact that we're recording this podcast through a similar medium is also pretty cool. Let's not forget, technology is amazing. But what then occurred is what the listeners may have heard, is that people started behaving in ways that could be perhaps labeled as antisocial, or at least not suitable for kids
Definitely.
in various scenarios. Now, I have a thought on this, but first of all, where are you at with this inevitable, in my view, outcome? Like, is this a surprise to you, or what do you think?
No, I think when I read it one morning, I was going through the papers and they're like, Portal temporarily shuts down because people are making, obscene gestures from one side to the other. And in some cases, very bad things. Um,
Mhm.
I thought, like, well, yeah, of course they are. Like, that's what happens. That's the society we live in. Like, people are going to
Yeah,
try to push the boundaries. It's like big kids again, right? You're giving them a chance to do it. They're like, oh, it's free. This will be funny. And there you
I
go.
just think it's beautiful. It's like a modern art
Yeah,
exhibition. It's like the type of thing you would see in a modern art gallery, where because humans are because a percentage of humans are always going to be attention seeking by their very
yeah,
nature, right? That they have a need and a want for attention. If you provide a source of attention, they are going to seek attention through
true.
it. Like, and of course, the internet already exists and people are already seeking attention on the internet. But when you provide a novel form of attention seeking, of course you're going to have people seeking attention on it. Like, if they didn't foresee this, it is genuinely mind blowing. Like, if it never came up in a discussion or a committee or anything, where they're like, okay, potential risks of this thing, topless with ladies, you're going to have people showing images to the camera which are deeply offensive. You're going to have, all sorts of crazy stuff. Either it's like they didn't think of it and that's shocking, or they did and still now have shut it down because they're like, oh, it happened and that's terrible. Like, I just don't really get it. Like, either embrace the chaos or don't, but like, don't do this middle ground.
So apparently now it's reopened with set hours, so it kind of avoids the drunken evening phase, which I guess is when people get the most belligerent. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, I mean, on the other hand, like, you're only going to wave through that portal so many times before you're going to try something new.
Yeah. Like, they've been rewarded. Like, the person who went topless, for example, I believe she would have been featured then in lots of other news articles about it when everyone's
Correct.
talking about it. And she has an OnlyFans, and she was ultimately interested in, I guess, selling subscriptions
Oh,
to
it
her
was a
OnlyFans,
marketing
and probably
initiative.
succeeded.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
that's
and
great.
ultimately succeeded massively. So the message that has been sent basically to all attention seekers is, guys, if you want to get some serious media coverage, that what you need to do is get yourself down to Earl Street in Dublin, because like it's like the unfortunately this media thing of when there's like a school shooting or like a terrible incident in the
Mhm.
US. Part of the problem is that the media covers it so intensely that it sends a message to all other people who are also mentally disturbed, who are considering it. They go, oh wow, I can be famous, I can have my
Sure.
moment in the sun. So a less obviously terrible version of it here, but people are basically being sent the message that if you go do something crazy on the portal, we're all going to talk about it and write about it, and it's going to be a big thing. So yeah, maybe that's unfortunate, but again, that is a bit inevitable, and comes back to, like, how did you not see this coming when you were making a live feed to another part of the world? It's just
And
mind-boggling.
and the mooning, that couldn't have been marketing for an OnlyFans account.
No, but that's just pure joy. Like this you also get in Google Street View occasionally, once in a blue
That's
moon.
very
Actually, not
difficult
to
to manage.
yeah. But that's why it's so special, because like there are people, we don't know them. I don't know any of these people. I don't think you do either. But there are people out there
Good people
who
on
have
both
decided
sides.
in their head, good people on both sides. There are people out there who have decided that whenever, if ever, they see the Google Street View car, no matter where they are or what they're doing, they are going to drop their pants and turn around and moon the Google Street View car. Even though they probably know that they'll just be edited out or blurred out, it's just what they're going to
It's
do.
like a mission in life.
And yeah, and people like that make the world a richer place. Let's not forget. So I think full respect to people who are willing to show their bare asses on the portal, and more power to them. This is human nature in all of its ugliness.
Yeah, well,
quote
in all of
unquote.
its nature, right? Adam and Eve starting
Yeah.
things off naked, allegedly. Now, I can't let you go without asking, what would you do from one side of the portal to the other?
I think there's some fun, innocent things that haven't been explored. Like, have they played any games yet? Have they played some kind of
Oh, that's
live
cute.
tic tac toe or Connect Four or something like that? There's no audio feed, I guess, and that's a shame, because that could have led to some music or some like
Right,
performance or
right.
something like that. I wonder, could they have even built this thing out to have like at a certain time on a Friday, there's a guest presenter who like will talk a bit.
That's
Like
cool.
they could
Yeah.
have. Yeah, and these are all off the top of my head.
Who are the morons
these-
organizing this thing that they couldn't think of a single one of those?
I don't. Either they're morons or geniuses, and they're like, this is the ultimate media stunt. If we act like we don't know what we're doing, everyone's going to write about it and talk about it and make podcasts about it like we are
Yeah.
right now. I think it's interesting, but I do think there's a good conversation as well to be had on what other two cities would be interesting to pair
That
up.
was my next question.
Yeah, because I was thinking New York and Dublin. In some way, it's interesting,
Yeah.
but in another, it's kind of like culturally not
It's
that
just all
far
their
away.
third
Like,
cousins over there in the NYPD, isn't it?
yeah, and also New York is not exactly somewhere we don't already know about. Like I would love if it was a city I literally have never heard of in China,
Right.
for example, which has a population 10 times the size of Barcelona, but we just happen to not know about it, right? So then we see this city through the portal and it's like, oh, wow, okay, I did not know that there's this metropolis that's, insanely huge, and the people are, going about their lives. And I think that would have also been pretty
There's a
cool.
learning
But then
aspect,
again,
right?
yeah,
If you have a
yeah,
totally different cultural norm, you might be mooning to think you're offending people, but they'll take it and love it on the other side because they have totally different cultural norms, right? You don't get that with New York and Dublin,
yeah,
but you might get that with Dublin and Guangzhou, or Dublin and somewhere
true.
in Lesotho.
Maybe China wasn't the exactly best country to have jumped to here, just because self-expression probably does need to be legal as a
They've
starting
got the
point.
cameras
As
set up,
as
though.
a Yeah, for sure. They can just turn one of them on, or just make a little screen, and there you go. I wonder. I do think somewhere like Denmark would just be like all hell breaks loose,
Oh,
like
God.
no
Yeah.
censorship. They'd just be like, yeah, go nuts,
Yeah.
guys. Like seriously, full nudity, full anything, just whatever you want.
Or the Dutchies.
They love that kind of stuff. Yeah, the Dutchies even more so. They'd be like proudly so. We just need to find another twin city for that. Like if
Yeah.
we're twinning Amsterdam with, what's the other like lawless, crazy part of the world? I don't know.
So you go Amsterdam with somewhere in Australia. You take a Melbourne or a Sydney
Yeah,
or something, or maybe
I was thinking
something a bit more
Australia.
in the outback. I mean, they love it. They were a convict colony. So
Yeah. They've got the
yeah,
rebel
they
spirit, I
definitely
think.
do.
Yeah,
I
that's
think that
fair.
could be good. The Dutchies and the
Yep.
Aussies, and that's a happy
I
marriage.
don't yeah, and I don't think it's the last we've heard of it. I do think that a lot of countries will see this as a cheap way to generate PR and keep the conversation going, maybe build on it a little bit. Yeah, I don't know how. I literally don't know the first thing about like how long it's staying in Dublin or who even really paid for it. Was it the respective tourism boards? I don't know, but I do think we'll hear more about these portals as time goes on.
The portal is no longer asleep. It is back, just like we'll be right after the break. Listeners, welcome back to the Lost in Postulation podcast. Neil, I'm bringing back something that's kind of becoming a recurring segment called Neil Heart Belgium.
I like
So
it.
you set this up on the last episode when you inadvertently used the entire country as a punching bag yet again. Well, I was apologizing to the duchies. We somehow ended up bashing Belgium again. And you did say that we needed to find a few records for Belgium to be proud of because we've bashed so much.
Yeah.
We took away Nick Vermeulen and sent him back to the Netherlands, the largest collection of sick bags in the world. So I said,
Yep.
all right, let's have Neil determine as an olive branch to the Belgians what they can be remembered for.
Absolutely. I just hope that you've prepared some suggestions because currently I'm at.
I got them with some help
Okay.
from our friend Chat GPT, but then fact checked. So
Amazing.
let's go
Amazing.
through a few of these one by one, and we can postulate.
I'm ready.
So, world records held by Belgium or Belgians. The world's tallest sandcastle. The world's tallest sandcastle was built in Ostend, Belgium in June 2021.
Yes.
It measured 21.16 meters, 69 feet, and 5 inches high. Caveat, it was actually like 5-6 years before, and then it got surpassed by a Danish sandcastle in 2021. So at one point,
Ouch.
they held the record for tallest sandcastle in the world.
That's pretty impressive, no? 20-something meters?
It's quite cool. The only thing is it kind of eventually gets washed out, doesn't it?
Well, that's the beauty of it, you know? That's what makes it all the more
Okay,
beautiful.
so we like the sandcastle?
I like that one. Now, sorry, just a little reflection as I think about it. Like, if we wanted to do that, you and I, and we had, let's say, €10,000 sitting by the wayside. Let's say, just like, that's not that much, let's say, right?
sand.
And we wanted to go into the record books for sand. Do we feel that we could actually break this record?
Well, I looked at both pictures of both the Belgian one and the Danish one. These are nice, architecturally nice designs, intricate, you know. Could we? I don't think we could, to be honest, because well, there's a time factor, but I do also believe there is a technique factor. You need to build this in a way that it's not going to keep getting kind of washed in by the tide while you're building it.
But I'm looking at one. I'm looking at it right now. The one in Denmark. It's on gravel. They have simply built it away from the beach, you know, and it looks great. And like, so certainly it's going to win the prize for prettiest sandcastle in the world. But if we're going for pure tallness, I just don't get why we couldn't rent a JCB and like tip a load of sand until it reaches 22 meters, and then kind of like do some little turrets and doors and stuff. Yeah, and just stick some stones on it and be like, there you go, world record.
There must be something. There must be something because, or else somebody would have it with that. No, there must be an adjudicator that says castle or not castle, right?
I think we're going to have to get into the details. But okay, still for now, I like the idea. It's a very wholesome record, and you know, respect for the artistry and all that. I think that these are good things.
So the next record, which could be what Belgium is remembered for, is the most varieties of beer commercially available. Belgium is known for its beer culture, and as of 2020, the Delirium Café in Brussels holds the record for the most varieties of beer commercially available, with over 2,400 different kinds.
Allee,
host. 2,400.
Het is een klein beetje bier, but that is a lot of bloody beer, and yeah, you can't really say much against it, can you? Like, I just don't think any other restaurant or bar would be like, nah, you're good. Like, you guys can have that record. I don't necessarily want to have 3,000 beers on draft or on not on tap, right? It's bottles as well. We're talking just yeah. I think it's a pretty cool one. I actually never went to Delirium in my time in Brussels. Never have.
Never went to Delirium Tremens. I went once or twice. It didn't have air conditioning, so it was a furnace in the summer.
It's a deal breaker. Big deal breaker. Yeah.
So far, do we go for the beer or the sandcastle?
I like the sandcastle so far. I think, yeah, like that's a more impressive thing to look at, you know? Like we're back at the sick bags thing again, where if the guy showed me his sick bag collection of thousands of sick bags, I'm not necessarily going to be like, beautiful, well done. I'm going to be like, okay, several questions coming your way here.
Respect the craft.
Number one, why? Yeah, respect the craft, 100%. Beer's fun, you know. It's just again though, like, okay, putting it this way, the records that are going to impress me are the ones that I couldn't just go and do if I had a large amount of money and a large amount of time. You know, there needs to be like some third factor, which is like skill or unique opportunity or timing or like something like that, you know, or effort simply. Because I can go like step one, I will go purchase a bar. You know, I'm just saying if I had loads of money, purchase a bar. Step two, buy 3,000 different beers. Step three, sell them in the bar, and then I've got the world record. You know, that isn't like there isn't like a huge talent input there. I think that's gotten me over the line, unless you see it differently. But that's where I'm at.
All right. I follow. So you really want to prize the skill level of the Belgians.
Yes, please.
So here's one for you. Debatable whether they are even Belgian, but shows up the woman with the longest time holding the plank position. In February 2020, Dana Glowacka, a Canadian Belgian living in Montreal, held the plank position, Neil, for 4 hours, 19 minutes, and in case you were wondering, 55 seconds, setting the female world record.
That's impressive. Now we're talking. These are actual feats of athleticism, which I'm always down for, and have no interest in trying to replicate myself. I know it's the female record, and 4 hours, forget about it. And yeah, that's just a no from me. Thank you very much.
Okay, so this now, you're not coming to me like you did with the sandcastle saying, oh, I could do that.
Yeah, exactly. This is what I'm saying, that the records like this, which are significant feats of human determination, which are not easily beaten by the next guy with a big bag of money, but like it's going to potentially stand the test of time. There may never be, there will be, but it could be a very long time before this record is beaten. So I think that's pretty cool.
Now I'm going to give you a very Belgian record. Oldest airline operating under its original name. Wait for it. KLM,
No way.
Royal Dutch Airlines, is the oldest airline still operating under its original name. However, Belgium's Sabena, founded in 1923, was one of the oldest airlines until it ceased operations in 2001.
Sad. But did they cease operations or did they become Brussels Airlines?
I think
don't know.
they filed
Or
for
they-
bankruptcy first, so then technically you're a new company, yeah.
That is a shame. Yeah, and they probably did have a little gap
Right,
before they
yeah.
came back. So that's a shame for Sabina, because that would have been a really nice one to hold on to. I'm surprised there wasn't some intervention, like some government intervention, just be like, we'll keep them afloat a couple more years. But
Well, we'll get to why there wasn't much government intervention. But Sabina, known at the time in the industry as such a bad experience, never again.
Ah, very good. I like this. This is like the acronym for Oracle. Have you heard that
No.
one? If you ever need to remember who owns Oracle, it stands for one rich asshole called Larry Ellison.
That's good.
There you go. You'll never forget it. Such a bad, what was it again? Such a bad
experience. Never again.
Sabena,
Yeah, it's
Sabena.
spelled Sabena.
Okay, I had the I in my head. Okay, such a bad experience, never again.
It's
Beautiful.
great, isn't it?
Beautiful.
Just for that, they should be remembered.
Just for that, actually, I think we should be doing this more often. I think for most companies, just coming up with little acronyms or initializations to.
It's a potential new segment.
Could actually be. Imagine that. That'd be a pretty nerdy one, even by our standards.
Definitely. So, now, why couldn't the Belgian government intervene? Sometimes they're busy, sometimes they're not. Next record, most days without a government. Belgium holds the record for the longest time a country has gone without an elected government. This happened between June 2010 and December 2011, lasting 589 days.
The Belgians I know speak fondly of this, actually. Like you ask them about this time and they're like, oh, it's the best time ever. Like life became so much more simple. You just knew everything was going to stay as it was. Nothing was bad. You know, like I do also think this is a good record because it's a form of brinksmanship that no other country would dare attempt to beat.
Right.
You know, because of electability issues and like how it would be perceived. So I do actually think this is something a Belgian could be proud of, to say only we could have a government who was uninterested for 2 years to actually come and do anything. Okay, it wasn't necessarily that simple, but
I think it's a
roughly.
legendary exploit.
Yeah.
And what you do hear from Belgians, like you said, is that was even a period of kind of everything was all right, also in terms of performance economically and everything. Then a
Yeah.
government came in,
Yeah.
messed it all up again.
It raises the question of like what would happen if they just never came back, like the Northern Irish government for quite a long time as well. Stormont was just like empty and scenes, things were going on well. People were visiting the Titanic Museum, going to the Lord of the Rings or the Game of Thrones tours,
Right.
all these great things. So yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for just disbanding governments altogether, or maybe have a government that comes every like few years just to kind of turn the lights on and make sure everything's okay, and then be like, okay, yeah, you guys are fine,
Like a
we're out.
caretaker. I mean, at the end of the day, if these countries are ungovernable, then why even bother?
This is the most right wing I think we've ever
Definitely.
said anything on our podcast.
You
And
started
if you were
it.
to clip this out of, I did. And if you were to clip this out of context, we would be like ranked in the top most right wing podcast of all time. But that's okay. We like to entertain. What we take ideas and look at them and turn them around before dismissing them. Want to make sure we dismiss them though on
But
the
you know
record
what
before
type
we.
of following we would get if they clip that and they're like, yeah, exactly. They did it in Belgium. Let's do it here too.
I'll take the following, to be honest. I think there's no such thing as bad publicity these days, and yeah, the only thing worse than being talked about is not being talked
There
about.
you go. And the next thing that has been talked about in Belgium, Neil, the largest, it's Belgium, chocolate sculpture. The largest chocolate sculpture was created by the chocolate company Belgian Chocolate Group in 2015. It weighed 4,484 kilograms. That's 9,882 pounds, and depicted a train.
Of course. This is an interesting one, actually, because this was in the heady days of 2015 where you could do whatever you wanted. The sky was the limit. I think if you did this now, you would be met with a very public, very loud outcry from a sustainability point of view and a food waste point of view that I just don't think you could get away with it. So in that sense as well, it's an interesting record because I don't think this will be beaten, at least not in any Western country. Because the minute that, say, some random chocolate company is like, we're going to beat it, we're going for the 5-ton structure, you'll have every rational, sane person being like, please do not waste 5 tons of actual food and please give it to people who are actually going to eat it. Even though, yes, maybe chocolate is not the 5 tons of food that you would want to donate to any reasonable cause. But you know what? That is beside the point. It's still food
You've
waste.
balanced us back to the left on the political seesaw. Question, though, what if they promised that then they cut it all up into little squares and give it to the people as chocolate to eat?
I don't buy it. I don't buy it because if it's being built or constructed, a 5-ton structure, 4 tons, I think you said it was, inevitably it's being exposed to the air, to like wind, dust, all these things. So like even if people wanted to eat it, I think from a food safety point of view, you would have to say, no, sorry guys, this has been like birds have potentially been doing their business on this. Like we don't want you to eat it.
Bit of a party pooper here, but I'll let it slide.
Sorry to say. Health and safety is important, guys. Let's not forget.
What about the train aspect of it? Is that a cool thing to make out of chocolate?
Love the choo-choo aspect. Yeah, I sure do. But I mean, if it was a solid structure, only the exterior of it was like the train part, and the rest was just bricks of chalk, right? It's kind of I of course would love if it was possible to go inside the chocolate train. I just would highly doubt that was possible, unfortunately. But I do think this is a cool record as well because of the heat, the temperature controlling aspect. Like they would have had to have considered at least doing it in a refrigerated room so the chocolate doesn't melt. I think I like this one too.
Being a Belgian train, do you think this one actually ran on better time than their real trains?
I think it made it about as much economic sense and operated with about as much timeliness as the rest of their trains did. So yeah, fantastic
Fun
stuff.
fact on Belgian trains for the listeners that may not know. At some points, I was commuting between the Netherlands and Belgium, and you'd have the high speed train that you could take from Amsterdam or from Rotterdam all the way to Brussels. And the time it would take you to cross all the Netherlands and get to Antwerp was the same time it would take you to do this short stretch between Antwerp and Brussels, because for whatever reason, they decided to not put the high speed tracks between the two biggest cities in the country. So
Yes. 4D chess. You just don't understand. They're 50 moves down the road, you know? They're playing the long
and you
game.
can't ask anybody because the government is on a break. So, Neil, the last two for you. Very Belgian again. World's largest collection of Smurfs memorabilia. The largest collection of Smurfs memorabilia belongs to Belgian Gerda and Eddie Lambert. As of 2014, their collection included over 6,320 items.
Okay, that's pretty good, I think. I think this is a really hard one to beat because they're going to keep collecting
Right.
even while you start collecting. And I mean, Guinness has had to draw the line now and just say, okay, you have this many. But since then, how many have they
Right.
got? You know? So if I was to submit and go, I think I actually do have the biggest Smurf collection now, they're going to call Eddie and Gert again and be like, guys, where are you at now? And they're going to be at like
They raise you.
5,000 or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah. So I just don't like it. I think never try and out pathetic someone who has the world record for pathetic. No offense to Eddie and Gert here, but like
That's harsh.
they will
It's not even
they'll win
second.
every time. No, it's just
I mean,
like yeah, it's not exactly planking. You know, like they're collecting
yeah.
Smurfs here. So I don't want to be like overly dismissive of their amazing record. It is very cool, but it's like it requires a level of nerdiness, right? That I just feel I don't want to have to try and beat. And I know that's not the question. You're not asking me which of these do I personally want to
No.
beat, but it is the one I'm answering. And unfortunately, I don't want to beat this. This
And
record.
the Belgians, the Smurfs, as we all know, are a Belgian invention, just like Tintin and
Yeah.
Asterix and Obelix.
Some great cartoons invented by Belgium. Let's not forget. You could give them the award for best cartoons invented, and they would only come second or third. So that's pretty good.
But to who would they come second or third?
I would argue Japan takes number one here just for Pokemon alone, and then anime in general.
Yeah.
And you have some good ones coming out of America, I think, too. But that's neither here nor there.
What is here and there, Neil,
It's transitions today.
is the largest indoor theme park based on a cartoon character. Plopsa Indoor Hasselt, based on the characters from the Belgian Studio 100, is the largest indoor theme park in Europe dedicated to a cartoon character.
I actually never got to go to Plopsa.
And
indoor.
neither did
That's
I.
very
I
sad.
am searching it now. It's in Hasselt, in the middle of eastern Belgium. And, well, it looks like there's a huge ball pit there and some rides and indoor theme parks. Where do we land on that?
I think in a country like Belgium where it does rain a decent amount of the time, I think it is actually the way to go. Ireland has one theme park, which is Tato Park, named after, yes, potato chips. And it is outdoor, which is unfortunately like a bit of a gamble, I would say. It rains 200 days a year in Ireland. So fair play to them for doing it. But yeah, I think indoor was probably the way to go also in Tato Park.
Well, there you go. So, Neil, you've heard the records. There's one more. The world's largest electronic dance festival, Tomorrowland, held in Boom, Belgium, is one of the largest and most famous electronic dance music festivals in the world.
I'm very positive on Tomorrowland, actually. I don't know if I mentioned
I went
why,
for a day.
but when... Oh yeah, well then you've been one day longer than I ever have.
But you're very positive about something you've never experienced.
Yeah, I can be positive about it despite never experiencing it. The reason is because if you're ever in Barcelona, there is an exhibition on currently called the Great Library of Tomorrow, made by Tomorrowland. It's kind of a marketing initiative for Tomorrowland, and you go in and you put on a VR headset and experience some really, really cool stuff. And I was sold after that. I was like, I love whatever Tomorrowland is about. I've never been there, might never go there. I don't even like electronic music. All of that said, I'm a big fan of Tomorrowland. So well done.
Good to hear. Again, this is one of those Belgian records where it's the largest electronic music festival, but then it says one of the largest. So I don't know if we can give it to
them. Why can't they sort this one out? It feels like just take all the electronic festivals and count how many people go to them, and there you go.
Well,
you would think.
Yes, you would think. Now, Neil, we need to make a choice. I think you're still on Plank Lady, but I've been looking into Plank Lady a little more, and I don't know if it's fair because she doesn't advertise any trace of Belgium in any of her interviews, and she
Yeah. I
it's
didn't
under the
want to.
Canadian
Yeah.
flag.
Exactly. I didn't want to call it into question because I know we do this a lot in Ireland as well, where like Pierce Brosnan, who is a US citizen or has renounced his Irish
Mm.
citizenship, we're like, yeah, he's Irish,
One of
cool.
us.
So yeah, maybe not to, call her nationality into question too much. But if I had to pick another one, I think I'm still back at Sandcastles, funny enough.
Okay.
What do you think?
I think the sandcastle, because of the way it was done, does also incorporate a high degree of skill. Um,
Mm.
I do also I like the most varieties of beer commercially available. That's a very like collective effort if you want to take that approach. And then I'm kind of partial to the chocolate choo choo.
Yeah, I can see that.
I
I
like
need to see a picture of this chocolate
yeah.
choo choo. Actually, that's my
It's a brown
first
train.
next
Yeah.
move after this. Yeah, a
Yeah.
brown train.
Well,
What's not to like?
exactly.
Yeah,
So
amazing.
Belgium.
Well, this has been a great list, and I even had a list here of dubious honors that Belgium has, but I'm not gonna read them out. I thought it's too it's too
Do
harsh,
you
I
want to
think,
throw one out
and
for the
maybe.
listeners?
Well, like I asked, you know the way ChatGPT generally won't be negative, like it really wants
Right.
to be positive. So what I asked it was, what are some dubious honors for Belgium? Um, things it is known for that might not be particularly flattering, says ChatGPT. Here are a few. Actually, maybe you can guess, or you probably won't be surprised to hear any of these. But do you want to take a shot at one, and I'll tell you if it's on the list?
Something about drunk driving.
Actually,
Oh,
no. At least ChatGPT doesn't go there. It does talk cycling accidents. So Belgium has a relatively high rate of cycling accidents compared to its European
well,
neighbors. And it does also mention traffic congestion. Belgium is often ranked as having some of the worst traffic congestion in Europe, especially around Brussels. And we can both, I think, personally attest
I'm
to
getting a
that.
cold sweat just thinking about it.
I mean, I'm getting flashbacks to 2-hour commutes for a 10-minute drive kind of stuff. So yeah, do not miss that one bit. Every episode, it is important to dunk on Belgium
We
at
need
least
to put
once.
them back in their place after all the chocolate choo-choo trains and world record
Yeah,
sandcastles.
yeah. I think after this is just a palate cleanser to balance it out again, and then I think we need to put Belgium to bed at least for a few episodes now, and just kind of say, look, we beefed. It's like the Kendrick Drake, beef has happened. It's over now. We move on, and then we pick it up again in a few episodes
Are
for
we
sure.
Kendrick or is Belgium Kendrick? We're Kendrick. Belgium's Drake.
I hope we're not
Right.
Drake. Yeah, I don't want anyone to be. I don't want to call anyone Drake in this
Right.
now, but it's a beef. We'll
It's
put
a
it that way.
beef. It's a beef. Did that end, by the way? Did they reconcile officially?
It kind of got awkward, actually, at least in my very amateur understanding of
Diss
it, because
tracks.
yeah, which in itself is kind of cringe anyway. If we all just zoom out for a second, like grown men are making songs, making fun of each other. It's like, okay, cool, great stuff, guys. But if you take it seriously, or if you're really into it, it became pretty clear that Kendrick was like very, very angry and was getting very
Right.
personal, and Drake was like, "You suck, you're a bad guy," and then Kendrick would respond with like, you and your whole family are horrible, and
Right,
this
right.
like just extremely personal, to the point where I think it got a bit awkward, where everyone was like, okay, calm down
Yeah.
a bit, like just you know um and then it kind of fizzled out, I think, because Kendrick was by far the winner if you talk about who made the better diss tracks. But then it was like, I don't think either of them actually emerged looking better, if you get me. It was like kind of petty in the end. And yeah, I think we've had better feuds over the years. But hey, it's over now, I think.
Well,
Yeah,
we'll see if they bring it back like they did with the New York NYC Dublin Portal.
exactly. Looping us back around, putting a little bow on the episode. There we
And we'll
go.
pack it in for you, listeners. He's Neil Fitzpatrick. I'm Nicola Volpi. This was Lost in Postulation, an LIP production, and you'll hear from us very soon. So long.